Hello everyone, this is Norlin, Oligo Sarma, licensed immigration consultant. I would like to clarify something about the LMIA application and of course the housekeeper that you are offering to your foreign national. A lot of people right now, a lot of applicants, I believe a lot, marami pong nagpa-flag pooling right now. They go for flag pooling and now I always say to everyone, you're going to flag pool anybody in that CBSA officer, anyone who will assess you sa inyong application, will gonna ask anything they want as long as there's a reason to actually refuse your application or approve your application. Regardless, they have all the power to do that. They have all the power to strip off whatever things na mayroon ka or strength dun sa application mo. They can refuse or not. They have the right to ask every single document that they want from you, even though hindi siya nagko-collaborate or it's not coordinating for the from the application. Now, I wanted to discuss about LMI application. In the LMI application, I want to tell everyone, as what I've said, I don't want to be proud of, but I'm an instructor of LMIA sa mga consultant and mga immigration lawyer na hindi alam mag-process ng LMIA. Now, when I teach, I want to make sure that I know in between the lines. Now, in terms of LMIA application, there should be something that collaborates and nagko-coordinate yung rate, nag-coordinate yung rate, yung experience ng ino-offer mo sa application. Now, in terms of LMIA application, not in my whole life. If you are a housekeeper, because I have to coordinate dun sa job bank or sa market about the requirements in the application on the LMIA. Now, in terms of housekeeper, I just want to make sure to let you know that I want to read what is in there to make sure that I could be able to, I stand on what I know and on what's the legal way. At the same time, at the end of the day, I practice and that may mga nakakapasa, may hindi nakakapasa in terms of housekeeper. But the question is it required for English exam or English proficiency? Hindi po requirement yon. That's what I can guarantee, because the reason behind is that I can back up with documentation. If I go to jobbank.gc.ca, I will put my screenshot in here. It says here, housekeeper in Canada, which is NOC 65310, it says employment requirements. This is what you typically need for the job. There are no specific education requirements for occupations in this unit group. Second, certification for housekeeping, room attendance, or similar certification may be required by some employers, but we're talking about some employers. Now, there is no professional certification and licensing. They don't have any data or profession certification requirements dito. This occupation is not regulated in Canada based on the record of the Foreign Credential Recognition from ESDC. Now let's go back to the tfwp.lmia.esdc.gc.ca. That is the place or the website where you can apply for LMIA. Ang tanong doon sa my languages, it shows there, this position requires the ability to communicate orally. And of course, you have two choices, English or French. Ang sabi doon, this position requires the ability to communicate orally. Hindi sinabing this position or a housekeeper requires an English proficiency certification. Walang sinabi pong ganon. And eto pa, walang option. There's no option to do that. And again, as what I've said, you have to choose two of those options, English or French. Of course, how do you communicate with your worker? Yung position, that means the worker, and then of course involves with the employer. How do you communicate? Is it French or English? Now, if you choose English, of course, you will gonna be communicating English. Kasi sabi niya, this position requires the ability to communicate orally. Again, I repeat, hindi sinabi na this position requires an English proficiency certification. That's not true. That there's not even an option in that LMIA application. Now, second question, this position requires the ability to communicate in writing. Again, one choice is English and another one is French. of course you have to choose English, because when you write or do whatever job you do with your employer, it should be English if you know English. But if French, then it's a different story. Now again, hindi sinabi na requires proficiency in English certification. There's nothing like that. Okay, there's another one. Does this position require the ability to communicate in a language other than English or French? Of course, you say no. Kasi you don't want to communicate Tagalog or your own language with the employer. It's always English and French. So you put no. I would like to clarify everyone who goes for flag pulling. I've heard na maraming naka-prepare yung kanilang English exam or English proficiency certificate. It is your option. It is an optional. As what I've said, I've read from the job bank what that's requirement for the housekeeper. I also have read from the LMIA or esdc.gc.ca. They never ask. The reason behind, guys, is that it is a work permit application. Now, when you apply for work permit application under LMIA, that is just a work permit. Hindi pa siya permanent residency. You actually don't need that English exam. However, if you are applying for permanent residency, that is one example is that job offer for caregiver and nanny. Don't you know that when you apply for that, it is actually a permanent residency application? So that means you have to show your English language proficiency certificate or CLB. Now, if you're only applying for LMIA work permit, mapa housekeeper ka man, housekeeper, a caregiver, you don't even need an English, honestly, because that's work permit. But when you apply for permanent residency, then you will need your English exam. However, this is your choice. If you want to apply for housekeeper application and you have chosen to take that English language proficiency certificate, then you can include that in your application for your to make it. I believe it's not even something that make it stronger. The only problem is that the officers that you're dealing with can actually decide whatever they want. I could say as an immigration consultant, they might even not know about those things because they might not even reading the ESDC. They might not even reading the job bank. Or maybe whatever they want. They can have all the power to disregard whatever their discretion. They can do that to all of you who are foreign nationals inside Canada. The last one, employers were asking me, coming back to me, will my foreign national can take an English exam before they apply for housekeeper job? It is your discretion. I am not gonna impose something that is not even making an effect in the application. Right now, what I know is that I have been processing housekeeper. It is a work permit application under LMIA for foreign nationals. I have been sending application. There are people who are being refused and there are people who are being approved without that English language certification or English language proficiency certification. So it's all up to you. It's your discretion. But what I can explain to you is that, again, every work permit na application under LMIA, usually they don't need English exam. So, kailangan mo lang ng English exam when you come here as a caregiver outside Canada, because that is already a PR pathway. Long time ago, you need an English exam, but again, that's a caregiver program. So I read those things. I read from the job bank. I read from the temporary foreign worker program, and even in the application for work permit, there is no such thing as choices for that application. So again, that's my explanation about LMIA, about going into collaborating with the job bank. And again, it's all your option. If you want to take an English exam, go and attach it. It's not a crime. But again, that is not the basis supposedly that they don't have English exam, but officers should say it. Officers can say a reason for you to be refused by saying you don't have English exam. So these are all possibilities.